Welcome back to the Student Hub Live. In this last session of today, we're going to take a look at the MA Crime and Justice. And I'm joined by Samantha Fletcher in the studio, who is the Deputy Module Chair for DD 804, Crime and Global Justice, which is the second stage of the MA in Crime and Justice. So let's talk briefly then a little bit about this, because students are coming in to this particular module at the second stage. And firstly, you'll have done DD 801, which is Principles of Social and Psychological Inquiry, which is the foundation for the three modules, well, the three qualifications then, which are the MSc Psychology, MSc Forensic Psychological Sciences, and the MA in Crime and Justice. So there are three brilliant qualifications, all of which stem from that first level module. Now, if you're interested in that particular module, we did that at the last year's showcase, so you can go back on our Student Hub Live YouTube channel and take a look at Casey's account of what's involved in that module. But very broadly, Principles of Social and Psychological Inquiry is the foundation for everything. It's an open access master's, which means that anyone can take them if they've got a 2-2 in their first degree. And also the Open University do consider non-standard applications, for example, if you're coming from abroad and you've had previous appropriate experience or other undergraduate study that may well be appropriate. So students coming in then after this first year of study, what sort of skills might they be bringing to their second stage of study?
Okie doke. So in terms of DD 801, all students will get a really robust grounding in social and psychological inquiry. And alongside that, they'll also very much have started to think about both independent and supported ways of working, including things like working with their tutors, working with other students in forums, getting to know their peers and how they can work together to support each other. And then for those that are on the MA in Crime and Justice, they'll be moving forward to DD 804, Crime and Global Justice, and bringing all that skill set forward to delve further into some criminological inquiry.
Brilliant. That sounds really exciting. Now, one of the things that did really surprise me was taking a look at some of the things. I spoke to some of your colleagues earlier about the undergraduate offerings in criminology, and they all made complete sense. You know, they were looking at some real key issues and different ways of looking at the world. But here, I see things like environment coming in, and, you know, I was surprised because I thought, well, that wouldn't be something really obvious that I would have associated with, you know, an MA in Crime and Justice.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I should say I had the privilege of tuning in earlier to see my colleagues on various other sessions. They've all been fabulous. Absolutely. I mean, for the first thing to say is about DD 804 is that students will be able to, so should they come with an interest in kind of more classical notions of crime and criminology, we will be covering things like prisons and policing and criminal justice systems. But really what DD 804 is about is making sure that students don't feel confined by those classic and traditional notions alone, and also can bring new life with new perspectives on those classic topics. In particular, I think one of the developments that we've seen in recent times over the past few decades is a real shift and focus towards expanding what criminology is. And thinking about things like, for example, one of my specialisms is regarding crimes of the powerful. Now, they're not always considered crimes in terms of legal and what's deemed legal and illegal, but they are most definitely harmful acts that can be carried out by powerful persons in society. And I think within that, one of many different things, so people often think about state crime and corporate crime. One area that's emerged that's of real interest and is covered in the module in Block 4 is green criminology. Not many people have necessarily heard of that outside of those that are studying it. And green criminology has had a real boost because green criminology thinks and explores harms to the environment, to animals. Often these things are inextricably related, so harm to the environment can cause harm to humans. We've seen our first refugees of climate change in terms of people having to move away from rising sea levels. So really, it's all about within this module, it's all about thinking about any act in the world can be criminalised, decriminalised, it can be made regular or deviant, and if that's the case, there literally isn't anything that doesn't concern criminology. And I know we were talking the other day about the whale that had washed up on on the beach with 20 or so plastic bags in the stomach. And of course, that's something that you might not necessarily think, oh, criminology as a discipline, as a subject matter would deal with that, but that's exactly the kind of thing that students could look at in DD804.
Because I guess the whole thing with plastic bags is that, well, we were talking earlier in our session about environment and about Blue Planet really sort of raising awareness of some of those things. But equally, you know, the idea of plastic bags has been going around for a long time. I mean, I live in Wales and we have to pay for plastic bags. And we were talking about this again the other day. Like, I remember when I went to India and I stopped buying plastic bags because I saw what they did to the cows, for example, let alone anything else. And then now in Wales, I buy bags for life. And somehow for me, because it's a bag for life, I feel slightly better off about doing that. I don't always use them in the way that they're intended to, and I'm often forgetting them, etc. But there's different conceptions about what's categorised as what. And, you know, I guess to what extent society and government are trying to make changes and enforce things on people. You can't use all these plastic bags, etc. Who's responsible for that? And who's responsible for this poor whale then who washes up on the beach?
Absolutely. Well, there's sort of three areas I could say something about there. The first one is I love the fact that you're contextualising your own experience already in just having this discussion, and that's very much something that DD804 offers. It offers students the ability to think about their own lives and contextualise their experiences, so they can really bring their own experiences to the module in a variety of ways. The other thing, of course, is, and I think this builds upon what Steve and Kia and Vicky were talking about earlier, is about thinking about structural harms and structural crimes, in the sense that criminology historically has been quite, in the main part, has been mostly concerned about direct interpersonal forms of, say, violence. You know, person A hurts person B directly, like right here in the same space. Whereas if you think about harm and you think about things that might be criminal, you can think about things that take place at a real distance. You know, if a corporation puts up its gas prices and a state reduces its pensions, and then a whole load of people, you know, die of fuel poverty, how is that? Where does that fit in terms of thinking about crime and harm? And that's really, so we need to think about structural. You don't have to necessarily be in the vicinity of somebody directly in order to create harm.
And the word global is really important as well in this context, because whilst we're both talking about very local or contextualised aspects, it's not always quite so clear cut, because whilst things can be happening at a local level, there are various influences and global narratives, I guess, that are going to shape what happens at a local level.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you think about it in terms of, there can be events that happen in terms of nuclear disaster, and they have a massive impact on the immediate area, but also, of course, they have impact, you know, further afield. Climate change would be the same example. The global element, if I can say, is really, really important to our DD804 module. In particular, what we've done is we've also created a timeline, a map for students. We don't have any pictures of that here today,
We've got the broad map, which we can show people, the picture of the timeline. But the idea here is really important, because you've developed something quite interactive.
Yeah, so in terms of the module is kind of developed in terms of, it runs in terms of topics, it runs in terms of themes, in terms of, you know, theoretical issues, etc. But what we really wanted to do is give students another way of seeing that in terms of putting it in the context of time and place and space. Yeah. So what the map offers is it covers all the things that have appeared in the different weeks and the themes and the blocks, but it gives students the ability to revisit that and explore it by date and by location as well.
So again, a way of looking at things from a variety of different levels and contexts, etc. Now, the other thing I was very interested in was looking at the assignments, because again, these are not something I would have typically expected. You've got so there's 6 assignments in an end of module assessment, which is the dissertation, isn't it?
Yes.
So TMA 3 and 4 are focusing on really, really specific things, and I really like the way that you've sort of structured those in terms of the ideas of policy and expert opinion, etc. Just tell us very briefly about how some of those assessments work.
Okay, so in terms of TMA 03 and TMA 04, what we've been really keen to do is find a balance between very classic kind of academic assignments, literature reviews and essays, etc., especially so that students can bring that forward from DD 801 or any other experience that they've had. And then in terms of TMA 3 and 4, what we've done is we've asked students to kind of assume the role of expert to analyse a particular policy of their choosing, and there's a wide range of things that they can look at. And also in TMA 4, students are asked to devise a campaign, again on any matter of their choosing, and they can, what they'll be doing is bringing forward that academic knowledge and making that accessible to a wider audience. I should say the same thing about the EMA as well, because the EMA is, again, a traditional dissertation in many respects, but there's a second element as well, and students will be given training and skills in writing blogs and in writing kind of for the modern day, in terms of, we're very much these days we're expected to be able to communicate via shorter pieces on social media, and get pieces of information out very quickly.
And
so they'll
Steve
be
was
equipped
speaking
with those
very
skills.
much earlier about the importance of campaigning and the way that the department is actually working very proactively on various campaigns that are of concern.
Oh, absolutely. All of the wonderful team that we have on DD 804 are all very much involved in kind of active scholarship and bringing that forward into the module. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so we can show the map now, the
Okey-doke.
crime line map, which you were talking about very much earlier. We can't show the close-up of it, but let's just take a look and see so that students can have a look at some of the things. So here we can see the various pinpoints, and the idea here is that students will be able to zoom in and out of those areas.
Absolutely, the students will be able to, so you can see the bar across the top, that indicates the different teaching blocks, so they can isolate things by block, so they can go, okay, everything I learned in block 2, and those weeks I'll have a look at them again. But they can also free click and free zoom, and it's a little bit of a shame it's still, because when it's live it's lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they'll be able to zoom into these things, and then they'll also be able to go in by place, by say continent. Yeah, and they'll have that accessible to them as well, so it's
Brilliant.
really good.
In the last couple of minutes, I just wanted to talk about justice, because we've been speaking a lot about crime and harm and various sorts of other things and the global aspect, but justice is something that sort of often has connotations of going to prison or having penalties imposed, etc. But the way that you conceptualise justice is a lot more broad.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the same way that criminology may be in the past, and still to some extent contemporarily in some cases, has been kind of confined to certain subject matters, as we've seen an expansion in terms of thinking about harm and thinking about the crimes of the powerful, so have we seen alternatives to justice. So again, justice is something that we generally tend to think about in terms of formalised criminal justice systems. And students will explore that. They'll explore those formal systems, including some global systems, so International Criminal Court. But really what we want students to think about is about options in terms of justice from the ground up, as opposed to the top down imposed by governments and states, how grassroots movements, campaign groups can give their version of justice. And also, we're very much within this module, we are keen to make sure that we recognise that certain voices, particularly of powerful or privileged people in society, get heard more. So in this module, we're very keen to explore other voices that maybe because of lack of privilege, for want of a better expression, aren't in the forefront. And so students will be able to, for example, look at anti-carceral perspectives, particularly from black and minority ethnic groups who have challenged the idea of prisons as a form of justice and come up with some absolutely fantastic alternatives.
Brilliant. We've just got room for one last thing to say, and I know that we've planned on covering so much, which I think we actually have. But is there anything else that you think is really important for students to take away from today's session?
To take away from today's session, for me, it's really that notion of making sure that students are aware that criminology it's because it's criminology, the word has that crime in it. It still persists that people think criminology is about crime as in what's illegal and legal, and it's just simply not the case. And I think, especially when you go on to do any form of education and study, you can go in with one idea and emerge with another of what you maybe want to do for a career, etc. And criminology allows you to do that. It allows you to grow with your study, and particularly that's something that was really important to our design of DD804. So a fabulous amount of flexibility and potentials for the future.
Brilliant. Well, Sam, thank you so much for
having
telling
me.
us about that. That's been really interesting. I hope you've enjoyed that session. It's all we've got time for today. But I hope that you've learned a lot about some of the modules, qualifications and concerns from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences here at the Open University. HJ and Damon, thank you so much for being wonderful today and for engaging with all the chat with everybody back at home. How have you found today's programme?
It's been good. We've covered an enormous range of subjects, and people have been fabulous on the online in the discussions, raised some really interesting points, and hopefully they'll all come on and enrol onto the modules and onto the MAs.
Yes, so we've got all the links for those on the website, studenthub.open.ac.uk. So just have a look at the resources page, and if you have any questions that you think about later, or didn't put in the chat, or we didn't get to answer, just email us, studenthub@open.ac.uk, and we'd love to get back to you. But stay in touch using our website, signing up to the newsletter, or our Twitter @StudentHubLive. And we're just looking forward to chatting at the next one, I think, as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much both, and thank you everyone at home. You had some brilliant ideas, brilliant tips that you've shared. If you'd like to see more from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, or more from us at the Student Hub Live on a range of skills as you prepare for your studies starting again in September, October, then you can check out the Student Hub Live YouTube channel and you can subscribe, or you can search for various things and find out more about the specific modules. We'll also have the catch-up available from today. Very shortly, we've covered undergraduate criminology, economics, music, religious studies, classics, environment and society. And from postgraduate, we've covered the MA philosophy and the MA in crime and justice. So do check those out if you haven't managed to catch up on all of them today. We've got a Student Hub Live writing retreat over the summer, which is in Adobe Connect, and that will cover a range of different things. So if you're interested in things like blogging, for example, we're going to be showing you how to do those and how to enhance your writing and think about different styles so that you can really work on building up your skills and repertoire. All the details for that are on the Student Hub Live website, where you can find out more about our other events that we've got planned for you also. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. If you'd like to send us an email letting us know what you thought of the show, studenthub@open.ac.uk. There's a feedback button also, and don't forget that the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences have a fantastic Facebook page, so you can keep in touch over the summer with the various things that are on offer, meet the academics, etc., and find out more. That's been all from us today. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you at another event very soon. Bye for now.